Welcome to Dungeoneering Done Dirt Cheap. I'm Everweird, and I am playing the Gunderholfen Mega Dungeon using the BECME D&D rules from the 1980s and 90s. When last we left our heroes, they had just fought a battle on level 3. Right outside this room, they met, it's kind of hard to say they met a monster that was new to them because almost all monsters are new to them. They're not very experienced in this business yet. They're only like level 2 to 4. But they met this Key-Goth, which is a custom monster for Gunderholfen, kind of furry, cat-like humanoid ape thing that looked pretty vicious. And they'd found a couple of bodies of Key-Goths in the room before this one. They'd then ventured into this hallway, checked out this one room, and as they came out, they had a random encounter with some Key-Goths. So that fight just ended, and my party is breathless and nursing their wounds. I had a couple of notes to myself after that last session as I was editing it. First of all, I had narrated the purchase of a tower. My party accepted this job to clear out this tower. It turned out it was occupied by the necromancer Quintius, whom they had faced before, actually tried to rescue when he turned on them and fled. They faced him in this tower, cleared out the tower of him and his skeletons and undead that he had resurrected, and purchased this tower for a heavy discount. I thought they would be venturing back into Gunderholfen the very next day. That's how I narrated it. And then as I got them into the dungeon, realized that my dungeoneering party was severely low on HP. So I retconned it to say they stayed in town for several days. So what's actually happened is during those several days that they had to wait in town and nurse their wounds, return to health, Talyra and Virago hired people to work on the tower. One thing they want to do is fill in that hole that leads directly to the graveyard, but they want to clean this area up. They want to perhaps put stone walls in the basement in the larder. They want to remove the trap door on the first floor that dropped them into that basement to begin with, and generally make a lot of improvements here. I'm not sure I'm going to do all of that here on camera, but I wanted to kind of go through it in the rules cyclopedia just to kind of pursue how they fortify a stronghold, because they are a low level. They're not at that level where they're going to attract followers yet, but they do need to do some construction. So I think when we talk about like finishing details, I think that's where I'm going to go. You know, interior doors, improving floors, what they mean by shifting a wall from one place to another, maybe. I think what they also want to do is start to fortify this so that they can keep their treasure here. So they're going to put some sort of fortification down there. They might not do that on this round, but what I want to do probably out of session is go through here and come up with like sort of a general cost for all these improvements, and then just subtract that from their treasure to play it out that during those 5 days that they spent in town last week, these improvements were going on, that construction was happening on the tower. That's why they couldn't occupy it. And of course, they then made the decision, or had made the decision already, to head to Gunderholfen and try to find some more treasure, see what awaited them there. So yeah, did not want to derail the momentum in the dungeon. The second note I made to myself is that they made it to level 3 using a ladder that was in a trap door on level 2 that they had found up in this area right here. Frank, their clay golem, cannot descend that ladder. So Frank has to hang out in this room on level 2. And that also means they don't have a way to carry treasure up from level 3 to level 2. They're going to have to do that themselves. Up a ladder is going to be pretty difficult. So they're kind of facing all of this, probably not all in this one moment as they lick their wounds. They're fresh off this fight. So they're just sort of stunned in this hallway with these weird new monsters, trying to figure out what's going on. But they've got a couple of things to contend with, namely that they don't have Frank down here, and they wonder if there's another way to get upstairs and downstairs or from level 2 to level 3 so that Frank can make that journey with them and carry anything out that they need. Incidentally, I only recently learned that one of the reasons to buy a mule in D&D is to bring it into the dungeon with you to carry treasure. That never even occurred to me, that you would bring a pack animal into the dungeon, but I mean, I guess it makes sense. Obviously, mules can't climb ladders either, so it wouldn't do me any good right here, but it definitely, put some thoughts into my mind about how to utilize that resource. One of the things I'm contending with here is that you wouldn't know it, but where I've come in because I descended this trapdoor is a room that is keyed very high up in the numbers for Gunderholfen. So one of the challenges of playing this solo is trying not to spoil myself as I skip several pages ahead and then have to kind of go backwards and forwards as I navigate through. So we're actually in room 19 right here, and this was 20 and then 24. So we have not explored a door to the west here, double doors to the west here, and then we saw a hallway to the west. Actually, we didn't see that hallway. It's behind a door. So we were right here in the hallway. Had just seen some trickling water, I believe, in room 19. Yes, a steady trickle of water flows down the east wall and then across the floor before disappearing into a crack in the floor. We had seen that room, stepped into the hallway when we had that random encounter. It looks like Grebe and Ballad are a couple points down, but not enough that we're going to spend health potions trying to get them any more hit points right now. I think we're going to we spend a minute, we have some water, and we decide which direction to go. From here, after finding this, I think we're inclined to, I want to phrase this in a way where I can use some kind of decision-making device like my yes-no die. I also had a commenter point out to me that, it is kind of interesting that I don't use an oracle, and I left a comment about that. I've kind of explored several different ones and not found something that really does it for me, because often I feel like I can represent the various opinions in the party of like where to go, but then I literally need something that is a binary decision. Do we go north, east, south, or west? I'll roll a d4 to determine that. Or is it a yes, no? Do we open this door or try this? That's usually what I need. But I do have an idea that I'm set up for to maybe bring into this session if I have a more complex decision to make. Let me figure out who makes this suggestion. I've got 7 party members, D8. On an 8, I re-roll 7. So Ballad is the one who suggests, perhaps fresh off being wounded from the Kegoth fight and feeling a little protective of his health, says, I think what we need to do before we continue venturing south, where these living beasts approached us from, is maybe head up to that first room where we saw that dead beast and head through those doors to the west. Like, let's start at the top and cut across that way, especially if we're looking for another route back up to level 2 or even deeper. So that has been proposed, and Talira accepts that. The party is going to travel up here and head to the west through those double doors. So of course, when they do that, they're going to listen. No one hears any noises if there are noises to be heard. We open this door. It is not locked. And we see that there is it's about a 70-foot hallway. So I don't think we can see all of that all at once. So yeah, we see about 30 feet. We don't even see this door to the south as our torches light up about 30 feet into this hallway. We don't hear any noises. Nonetheless, we approach quietly. We're going to be searching for secret doors and traps and treasure as we go along. So those first 10 feet, we kind of spread out a little bit. I think we light up a second torch, and if there's anything to be found, a couple of us notice it. I'm advancing my dungeon clock a little bit so that it is 9 a.m. as we're walking through this. I don't think I kept up very well last time, and I think as we went back to this room where there is a dead ogre, we still took our time to collect ourselves and look around a little bit more carefully. So even without that check, looking for secret doors, we don't find any secret doors or traps, but we do see as we walk along the walls that both walls of this corridor are lined with bas-reliefs of dwarves mining, smithing, and building. So more of this theme along here that the dwarves are telling their own story of creating Gunderholfen. Eventually, we do see that there is a door to the south and then more double doors to the west. So we're just going to do a 1 or 2. 1 is going to be the west. 2 is going to be the south. 1. We continue to the west. So we approach those double doors and we listen. Wow, Talira just missed the hear noises check with a 47. She has a 45 for hear noises. But someone in the party did have a good enough listen there that if there's anything to be found, they have heard it. And sure enough, they hear the sounds, sort of bestial sounds in there, and they immediately guess that it is probably likely those furry creatures that they encountered before. They're not wrong. There are Kegoth guards in here in this room. I think we can see a little bit of light coming out from underneath the door. So listening there, do we know how many there are? No. We don't have a good guess on how many are in there, but it's definitely enough noise that it sounds intimidating. In that case, we're going to head to the south and do that same listening check. Talira misses again. No one else hears anything. So this time we're not really sure if there's anything there, and we're going to go ahead and enter this room. When we creak open that door, we see that a hallway continues about 30 feet to the south. It seems to open up into a little bit of a larger room. Even with our torchlight, we can tell that that room is not tremendously large. A few steps in, and we can see that it's just about a 15 by 15 foot room in there that looks to be some living quarters for these beasts. We see a lot of fur everywhere and several straw and stick beds scattered around the room, as well as chewed on bones and other leftovers. Everything is covered in strands and clumps of white fur. Shiver runs down our spines as we consider what lives here and think about how to handle whatever is behind those doors right there. I don't know that it was a particularly tough fight against the Kegoths before, but the beasts themselves were so fearsome that we're not looking forward to facing them again, so we're wondering about how to handle whatever is in this room. We don't really know how big that room is or any ideas as far as like cover, how we could protect ourselves once we got in there. We've got some burning oil, of course, that we could employ. We're thinking hard about this. Talira requests that they go and explore this door. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to take another 10 minutes, retrace their steps. I will roll for wandering monsters. No wandering monsters, and we head to this door. It is headed to the west, but with not open. It is in fact locked. So Talira will attempt an open locks check. This is pretty dicey. She gets it with a 1. That's amazing. With her thieves' tools, is able to unlock this door. We should have all listened before that even happened. If there's anything there, it seems that 3 of us heard it. And just another awesome realization about mapping mistakes. I realized that what is in this room here, I had appear in this little room right here. So I'm going to take what should have been in that room there and put it in this room right here. We are fairly confident that there's nothing in there with that listening check. And we open the door, a torchlight shines back on a room that is about 20 by 30 feet. There are no exits from it, and we see a shattered skull lying in the northeast corner. We will approach it and check it out, and when we do, a swarm of centipedes streams out from the skull. One of those centipedes is bright snot green in color. We don't have any wizards or otherwise curious people about the biology of this centipede. It is useful to an alchemist, and given our disillusionment with Balfour, I don't think any of us is going to try to collect it. So this one centipede escapes before we think too hard about it, and that is it with that room. So now we discuss, do we head south, maybe investigate that door? I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to head south. We know that those Kegoths, although we're not calling them that, came from down here, probably around this corner. We did not see them come out of that door. So we go to that door and we listen. There's a door to the west, about 20 feet south of this room we're in. Sure enough, Talira is just nailing it on her checks today, and if there's anything there, she hears it, but we don't hear anything there. This passageway, as we carefully open it, is illuminated. There is a door just to the south as we enter, and a door to the north at the end of the hallway. We're able to see that because of this torch on the wall that's illuminating everything. So we listen first at that door to the south. Sure enough, if there's anything there, one of us hears it. But no, we don't hear anything there. It appears to be unlocked, so we open it. This room extends about 25 feet to the south, and it's about 30 feet wide. The walls and ceiling of this room are covered in mold. There are several pegs lining the south wall. Each peg has a different set of clothes hanging on it. Against the east wall is a pile of straw that looks like some form of bed. We're going to go to that door to the west and check that out. We listen. This time no one is successful on a hearing check. So we go ahead and open up that door. Arms at the ready, of course. This room is about 15 by 15 feet. And this room is also covered in mold. Against the west wall is an old battered chest. So no details on whether that is locked or not. I take it to be unlocked, but Talira and Virago will take turns examining it for traps. Talira, unsuccessful. Virago, successful. Virago examines it, doesn't find any traps, and we open this chest. In it, we find a rough map. This tells me that it is level 7 core. It's in the handouts in Gunderholfen, just an amazingly resourceful book. So it is handout 3. It's this handout. This is the map we find. It says Fishman Fort, back to cave, great underground lake with green walls, Lizardmen Temple, nasty thing, more Fishman Forts, watch out here. We don't know what this refers to, although the text tells me it's the level 7 core. We don't know that. It also tells me that this details the Durgar stronghold and the route to the secret entrance. But again, this means nothing to my characters, but we are happy to have it. And this room otherwise is empty. So we head back into the room with the pegs and back into that hallway and go down to that door at the western end and listen at that door. That's a bad roll for us because I'm fairly sure there's something in here, but we don't hear anything. So again, we take up our arms, we're ready to face anything that we could be, and we open this door. It is illuminated, so as soon as we creak open that door, we can see everything there. It's about 25 by 30 feet, and Jedri is here pretending to be poisoned. I gotta find out what that is. Maybe it doesn't matter. There are further instructions if a certain person's trickery has been seen through. Jedri will be waiting behind the door and try to ambush the players as they enter, but we haven't encountered any of that. So we open it and see a person in here looking like they are poisoned. There's a strange metal bar about 8 inches thick by 8 inches wide sticking out of the north wall, protruding some 7 feet into the room, 3 feet above the ground. There's a lever next to the bar on the north wall. I'm going to try to find out some information about Jedri. Jedri appears to be a young man clutching his stomach and tells us that he has been poisoned. So it's a little complex on the instructions here. Certainly different if you're DMing a party through here, not playing solo, and also different if you've come in sort of the front door, whereas I've come in the back door. There's another room that I have not gotten into where I might have first encountered these characters, these NPCs. Jedri is the only one that I encounter here in this weird room with the iron bar. When we come in, Jedri is surprised, I believe. Well, let's determine that. Who is surprised? I'm yellow. Jedri is surprised. We would also be surprised, but for Virago's awareness. So a Virago gets sort of a spidey sense right before they come into the room and realize that there's someone here. But Jedri is surprised, and I think there's something we notice on his face, like, why are you here? He tells us, oh, thank you, oh my gosh. He recovers very quickly, and I know he's pretending, my party doesn't. So he is also puts on the act of, oh my gosh, I'm so glad someone's here. I've been terribly poisoned. Is there anything you can do? Blaine does have Cure Light Wounds, and I believe Cure Light Wounds will also remove poison. I'm going to double check that. Nope, it either heals damage or removes paralysis. There's nothing we can do. So we offer to take Jedri out of here. Let us get you to safety. There's an interesting thing here because Jedri is working in cahoots with another NPC, but we have not encountered that NPC yet because she is in another room. Jedri is having to play as though he cannot leave this room for some reason. Like, oh, I think I'm too weak to move. And they say, no problem, we can carry you. Let us just get you out of here. And then he says, oh, what about my sister? And he's stumbling to find a story. I haven't seen her in hours, perhaps. She went to get help. I don't know exactly where she could be. He's stumbling over his words. He's fumbling around trying to figure this out. And we say, we can find your sister. We can have her accompany us. It turns out that she is down this passage to the south. So Jedri is trying very hard to get us out into this main hall. That is going to be his deal right now. So basically his companion was trying to summon some giant rats. she would have heard us. Here's one of the other problems with coming in backwards through this and not reading the entire book before I begin the dungeon, which I really don't think you should have to do. But I do struggle with like how dungeons should be written in order to preserve their secrets, enable you to flip through and go through in any order you choose, because I certainly don't want to read all of Gunderholfen just to start playing it, whether I'm DMing a party or playing solo. If I had read this in order, if I'd gone through the rooms in sort of numerical order from the south to the north, I would have gotten this information earlier and known that Jedri's companion would have heard us coming through these double doors and certainly heard that fight that we had with the Keegoth. So I think that gives Jedri's companion enough time to do what she was going to be doing, which is summoning giant rats. How many has she summoned? 10. Oh, wonderful. We attend to Jedri as best we can. We're going to do a wisdom check of my wisest companion to see if they're seeing through this. I think that's going to be Blaine, who has a 14 wisdom. Yep. So 14 or less. Yeah, Blaine is starting to see through Jedri and thinking like, this is awfully strange. I don't really trust this. The details are shifting a little bit about where his sister might be, why he's been left alone in this room. So Blaine is a little bit on guard and kind of touches Talira's elbow and pulls her back as we leave that room and look out into that hallway. We've not yet made it to this door, and Blaine communicates quietly. I think there is more to Jedri than we're thinking of. I don't know that Blaine is fully... Let's see. Let's try my new fortune-telling dice. Okay. Is Blaine suspicious of Jedri's motives, or how suspicious is Blaine of Jedri's motives and machinations? I'm going to use fate dice or fudge dice, and the more positives I get, the more Blaine is suspicious of Jedri and will warn Talira. So it's dead even, just a 0. Blaine is suspicious, but not leaning one way or another. So he communicates that to Talira. We're not really on guard. We're going to open that door. We've taken up our normal positions. I think Lorkay and Blaine, as the most heavily armored, are escorting Jedri. Jedri is really fidgety and suspicious. We think this is just a case of the poisoning. But we open that door, and there will be 12 giant rats in that hallway. Rolling for surprise. Ordinarily we would be surprised, but Virago is not surprised. Virago is only surprised on a 1 with their awareness. As soon as that door opens, Virago sees some movement to the south and is on alert and shouts at everyone, "Be ready." I'm going to roll for initiative. 3. That means the adversary goes first. I'm going to draw out this map a little bit. So what has happened is Tiali, who's Jedri's companion, has ducked into this room here to do the summoning. As we come out of this room to the north and to the west of that area, Tiali has summoned those rats. They've emerged from the cracks in the walls, and they have run north to fight us. There were 10 giant rats. They have the initiative. The rats are going to be doing the attacking, so they're coming at the Dungeoneering Company first. First one on Grebe. 16 will not hit. They have a THAC0 of 21. Let's see. I've got 3 here, and then I've got Talira and Virago. Blaine and Lorkay are in the back with Jedri. Talira and Virago and the 3 of the Dungeoneering Company, those 10 rats, I'm going to have 2 rats on each one of them. So second rat comes after Grebe. Ooh, 18. Nope, doesn't make it. So first one on Zenith. Doesn't get her. Second one doesn't get there. Ballad misses and misses. Now on Talira. Oh, does hit Talira, of course, for 3 points of damage. And there is a 5% chance that it causes disease. I'll say a natural 1. Thank goodness. No disease, but Talira is down 3 hit points. Was that the first one on Talira or the second? I think that was the first on Talira. Here comes the second. Misses. First on Virago. Will hit for 3 points of damage. Again, natural 1. Oh my god. Virago is diseased. Which just means I get to look up disease. And the second one bites. Missing So Virago is down to 4 HP and diseased. I'm going to look up diseases in the rules cyclopedia. Saving throw versus poison. Failure means the character has a 25% chance of dying within 1 to 6 days. In any event, they will need complete rest for that time. Success means the character avoids the disease. Disease can be cured at once by spells such as Cure Disease. That makes so much more sense than this 5% chance. I'm going to roll versus poison. Virago's saving throw versus poison is a 14, and as I've made some errors recently in character saving throws, I'm going to double check that. Sorry, that's the paralysis, that P. Death ray and poison is a 12. So 12 or over. Oh, Virago, another natural 1. Virago fails, so now there is a 25% chance of contracting that disease. 76 does not contract that disease. Or sorry, failure means the character has a 25% chance of dying within 1 to 6 days. But in any event, they will need complete rest for that time. So I read that to mean that Virago has contracted the rat's disease, but does not have that 25% chance of dying. So for 1 to 6 days, 6, they're going to need complete rest. Well, that really puts a period on the sentence of level 3 exploration today. But that, nonetheless, that was all the attacks of these rats. Grebe is going to swing at one of the rats with her +1 sword, takes out one of the rats. Zenith swings that Morning Star, takes out one of the rats. Alad swings that two-handed sword, misses. Talira has no real choice but to swing the dagger. Nope. What Talira does is lights some oil. We don't have the room for this. This hurts us. And we gave away our potion of rat control. Talira's going to sling a sling bean at one of these. Misses. Lorque takes their sword and goes after one. Misses. Blaine, well, I'll say Virago with their hands. Probably their staff, actually, but misses nonetheless. Blaine with the Warhammer misses. Okay, bad news. There's 8 rats still running. I'm going to take initiative. 6. We get to act first. We know we have to get out of here. Talira says, run for it. We'll jam the doors ahead. We all start running north. That's only about 40 feet. With our movement, we can get through those doors. But Jedri doesn't want to come. Jedri knows that Tiali is hiding out in one of these sort of turns somewhere, waiting to attack us as well. We have the initiative. We run up there, sort of dragging Jedri as he is complaining, no, we must find my sister. And we're saying there's no time. We've got to regroup and take care of these rats. And he is pushing back, sort of fighting against Lorque and Blaine as they have grabbed him under the shoulders and are trying to push him through these doors. The rest of us will get through those doors. Okay, just super diversion here, as I've tried to figure out how many rounds it takes Jedri to turn back into his were-rat form, because I know that's what he is. So is Tiali, in fact. And I just fell down this rabbit hole of looking at the rules for like being bitten by the were-rat versus a giant rat. The giant rat that Virago was bitten by will not cause lycanthropy, only the were-rat. But Jedri, as we are butted up against this door, and most of us are through those doors, Lorque and Blaine are trying to force him through, I think he is starting his transformation. And so we see this transformation. I don't like the idea that, boom, in 10 seconds, he becomes that humanoid rat form again. Where rats, in fact, the humanoid rat is their natural form, and they shapeshift into the human form, that they're sort of a reverse lycanthrope. Jedri is starting to transform. We're seeing like hairs sprout out, and his nose is growing a little bit longer, and some whiskers are coming off the end of it. We definitely see the signs of a rat developing, but I don't know what we want to do about it. And I just thought, Blaine is seeing this happen. We have the initiative. Blaine's seeing this happen. Blaine may cast light right into Jedri's eyes so that Jedri is blinded but not unconscious or anything like that. So Blaine sees this happening and says to Lorkay, "Protect yourself, get back, cover your eyes." And Blaine casts light right into Jedri's eyes. Jedri saves as a 3rd level fighter. Fortunately, the Dobahai division are level 3, so versus spells, it's a 16 or higher that Jedri needs to save against that. Doesn't make it. So Jedri is now blinded for 1 hour, transforming into this rat creature, and Blaine thinks quickly and speaks this prayer that casts light right into Jedri's eyes. They stumble through those doors. Jedri is now blinded as he completes his transformation. I think, will have time to chuck some burning oil at those rats and still have a couple of us left to slam the doors. Probably not by the books, BECME D&D, but I like the flavor of this. It was my best throwing. Virago, and Talira's got like a 0. So if Virago throws a vial of burning oil backwards at those 8 rats that are left, how do I treat a miss? Miss goes over top of them and explodes behind them. But that will cut off Tiali if she is back there. Talira then aims into those rats, and 13 is going to hit them and their armor class. 5 hit points of damage. I'm just going to do sort of blast damage or cleave damage because 5 is going to take out 2 more of those rats. So there are now only 6 rats pursuing us, and they are cut off by flame behind them, maybe around that door where we brought Jedri out of. We're now locked in this room. We close those doors. The rats are going to be able to get under that door, but as they begin squirming in, we're going to be able to cut them down. So I think they'll just get free shots. Grebe, Zenith, and Balad. Grebe takes out another rat. Zenith takes out another rat. Balad takes out another rat. There are 4 rats left squeezing under the door. That is going to be their entire movement for the turn. Roll for initiative. They get in. So one of them goes after Grebe. Misses. Second one goes after Grebe. That might hit. Nope. Third goes after Zenith. Does not hit. Fourth goes after Balad. Also does not hit. So they're biting all over us, but they're just barely squeezing through the door. And Jedri now is blind, but in rat form, or at least almost complete. He would normally try to bite someone, but I don't think anyone's near him, and I don't think there's an appropriate way to punish him, like with subtracting a 2 from his roll or anything like that. Like there's no way that like this blind were-rat knows where we all are. He can charge at the door where he can hear us, but I've got a party wearing armor and things like that. It just seems really improbable. If I were DMing this for a party, I wouldn't have him have any chance of hitting them. Jedri is clawing around trying to hit someone. I can do it this way. Like, does he even like bump into one of us? No. So Jedri's still stumbling around trying to bite someone. We're going to have to deal with that problem, but the first thing we're going to do is take care of those rats. So Grebe misses. Zenith misses. Uh-oh, it's really not going our way. Balad misses. So we're swinging around as these rats, and Jedri has thrown us off. Blaine with Warhammer misses. Lorkay with his sword hits, takes out one of the rats. We're down to 3 rats. Virago is feeling worse and worse, not able to attack. Talira slings a sling bean over there again, misses. So I've still got 3 rats up, and Jedri rolling for initiative. Rats get to go first again. Coming at Grebe. 18. It's probably going to hit Grebe. Nope, it does not. Zenith. Nope. Balad. Nope. So they're just climbing all over the party. That's why I can't throw a flask of burning oil at them. But they're taking turns swinging at the rats on each other's bodies. Grebe misses. Zenith hits. Takes out one more rat. Balad takes out one more rat. That's actually it. Wow. Okay, that was 10 rats. So we've killed the last rat. Jedri is then there. Can Jedri get to one of us? Yes, Jedri gets his hands, hearing the melee, is able to get over there to one of the Dungeoneering company. Who is it going to be? A 2, it's going to be Zenith. Jedri gets his hands on Zenith and comes in to bite. So in this case, I'm going to penalize. He's blinded. He's going to have a penalty of 4, however I want to do that. So really, Zenith is going to get like a -4 to her AC. So he has to hit a 1 AC. Means a 16 or greater. And he misses. So he bites at Zenith. We now know he's in full rat form, or at least very, very close. We're all shouting at each other, what are we going to do? What is this? Grebe shouts, who cares? It's attacking us. Grebe is going to swing her sword +1, hits Jedri, does 2 points of damage. Something about that magic, we realize the magic sword is what's needed to do damage to Jedri. Talira thinks quickly, pulls that dagger out, and she steps in and swings at him as well. It looks cracked to me. Natural 20 and 4 points of damage on that +1, so 5 minus her tooth, so it does 3 points of damage. And now Virago will use their hands, which are the equivalent of a silver weapon. Oh yeah, Virago's feeling sick. I just want them to try it. I'm going to impose the same -4 penalty. So 15 is still going to hit Jedri's armor class, and 3 points of damage. He's looking very weak, but he is still standing. So on initiative, we get to go first. Grebe, sword +1. Oh, that's going to be a 12. Will hit and takes out Jedri. Slays this were-rat, and when he falls, he does not change back into a human. I don't know that this puzzles us one way or another. Not that we thought he was supposed to, but there is something strange about his collapse. We have that door locked. The Dungeoneering company is guarding it, and we're thinking, was he lying about his sister? Was that how he talked about the rats? But nonetheless, Virago has this disease and needs 6 days of full rest to recover. We are going to return to Longfelt. This has been a very eventful and traumatic few hours in here. We spend our time being extremely careful, going back through these doors and up that ladder. It takes a while to get up there with Virago, carrying them. Frank is at the top and can assist us when we return to level 2. So we're in that room. Using all of our resources, we sprint across to the stairs and make it up to level 1, where we come up these spiral stairs, and I will roll an encounter as we make our way out of this dungeon. So on level 1, I am using the random encounters from the Rules Cyclopedia because the environment up there has changed so drastically from what it was in Gunderholfen, the book. As we wander up here, we find a human. Gunderholfen provides all sorts of, so many good resources for encounters that I've not even tapped into, but it's got a lot of Longfelt encounters as far as NPC parties that you might encounter, city scenes, just Longfelt encounters, just street scenes that are just sort of normal, as well as dangerous encounters, city guards, thieves, tradesmen, farmlands encounters, all of this kind of stuff. So I'm trying to make a decision on how dangerous it is. I'm going to return again to that new Oracle system I'm using, and the more minuses I roll, the more dangerous this is for me. So it's a positive. Because I'm getting a positive outcome on my fate dice, I'm going to say that this is someone from the farmlands who has wandered in here or been imprisoned. This, not right, hang on. I'm going to say it's a young noble, and the way I determined that was I rolled on the farmlands encounters, received a 13, which is the noble and retinue, and then I rolled a d4 and got a young noble. Just kind of making up my own way here, But this young noble, a 5th level fighter, encounters this. I think he looks pretty banged up and bruised and at a very low health. He is disarmed and does not carry this gold and silver that it says that he does. He is exhausted and looks ragged as we encounter him around in this area. Is either of us surprised? No, neither is surprised. We approach and say, "What are you doing in here? This is an extremely dangerous place." And he says, I might ask you the same, but I just don't have the energy. I've just managed to escape a prison that some hobgoblins had put me into. It was a tiny room that was locked somewhere in here, and I started wandering. I heard noises and ended up in this room. It felt safe. I don't know where to go. I don't know my way out of here. But if you can return me to my home in the farmlands, my family would be eternally grateful. We're already sort of carrying Virago, who is increasingly sick with this disease from the rat. So we say, you're going to have to keep up on your own, but we can keep you safe. We're headed to Longfelt. With that, we'll head up and out and go to our campsite where we can kind of collect our things and then head back to the city. It takes us 2 watches to get across the Ganfell Swamp. It's still early in the morning, 23rd day of the month of cold, so it's going to take us into the nighttime to get back. Will this young noble accompany us back to the city? Yes. So rather than trying to find his own farmland elsewhere, he heads with us into the city. So I'm going to roll those random encounters across the swamp. Immediately I have one. An 18. I doubt that's good. Harpies. 2 of them. I believe I've seen these off in the distance before. We are outside. They are about 60 yards away. Because this happened in the first watch on our way across, it's not quite dark. It's not at all dark. So we do see these flying creatures. Well, I'll roll surprise to see if we see them. We are surprised. They are not. So these harpies see us. And their reaction, we're a pretty large party. Cannot imagine 2 harpies wanting to take on a party of 8 people. Nonetheless, there are procedures for that. Monster is aggressive. Roll again in 1 round with a penalty of -4 to the roll. Yikes. These harpies aggressively take flight to us. Perhaps they don't see that there are 10 of us right here. And they can move 60, 150, so they were 60 yards away. I think that's kind of like a turn. They'll be here within a turn. Perhaps they're just a little overconfident in their ability to charm us with their song. Nonetheless, because they sort of shriek and make this aggressive move to fly at us, we do see them. So Talira tells everyone to take cover and take up their ranged arms. Talira and Zenith grab their bows. They have these +1 arrows that they have not yet used, and they have 5 of them. So as soon as the harpies are within range, I don't think the harpies have a ranged attack. Their special attack is the Song of Charm. I'm going to look them up in the rules cyclopedia to see if there's details here. Harpy has the lower body of a giant eagle and the upper body and head of a hideous-looking woman. They sing with enchanting, mesmerizing voices. By singing, they lure creatures to them to be killed and devoured. I must make a saving throw versus spells or be charmed. If you succeed on a saving throw against the songs of a group of harpies, the victim will not be affected by any of their songs during the encounter. This is one of the places where like the range kind of comes into play. I'm curious how far that range is of those songs. Nonetheless, I'm going to roll initiative. 4. We get to go first. Talira and Zenith are going to take up their +1 arrows. Talira, a 12 will hit this harpy for 2 points of damage. And Zenith misses. I don't think any of our slings have the range to get to them, so I think that's all we can do right now. We've hit one of them. It is their turn. I'm going to roll their morale. Morale is a 7. So they keep coming at us, and they're going to sing their song, and I think we're all going to save versus spells. Okay, so I apply my wisdom modifier to this. That's not a thing I've done very consistently in the past. Talira, charmed. Virago, charmed. Lorcade. How does this work? Yeah, any creature hearing it must make this. Blaine. 12 doesn't make it. Oh boy, it's up to the fighters right now. Ballad. The only person to save versus spells is Ballad. Everyone else is charmed and begins walking towards these harpies who are flying towards them. Ballad is looking around him going, what are you all doing? This is... Wake up, snap out of it. And I had the one other, the young noble who's with us, does save. So Ballad and this young noble are freaking out and trying to shake everyone out of it. And they're just brushing them off like, no, we're walking over in this direction, and we just keep zombie-like approaching these harpies that are swooping in, these like half eagle, half hideous women who are singing these songs and swooping in. And I can think of no better place to end the session than as the party is walking across the swamp towards these two harpies.